Hey, what's up? Welcome to Father in Our Future. I'm Anthony Vandegrift, and I'm not the perfect dad, but every day, just like you, I am trying to be better. The conversation that I'm going to share with you today, I was not ready for. It rocked my world. We're talking about video games, but I'm pretty sure there's some things that you don't know about video games and the gaming industry. So today I am joined by an expert. He's a developer. He's been involved in the industry for decades. His name is Scott Novis. And he's going to tell you some things that you didn't know about the video gaming industry. But he's also going to give you some good things that you need to know about games, things that can actually help and benefit your children. So make sure you stick around for the pro tips. I want to break in real quick and let you know how much I appreciate you listening to the podcast. My prayer is that I can be a help and a blessing to you on your fatherhood journey. So if you're not already subscribed to the podcast, go ahead and subscribe. And if at any point you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email at fatheringourfuture@gmail.com. And if you want other good content, you can go to the website, check out the blog, and other free resources. Thank you again for listening. Be blessed. Do you remember when you became a dad and all of a sudden those New Balances just hit differently? There's something about fatherhood that impacts your wardrobe, and I'm happy to share that I can help you with that now. Fathering Our Future now has merch. We have sweatshirts and hats and other pieces of clothing that you will enjoy sporting as a father. Just go to fatheringourfuture.com, select merch, or click the link in the description of this episode and get you something that you will enjoy and be proud to wear as a dad. Dad, I want you to know I care about you and I am on your side. So I have a free gift for you. I've put together a 7-day devotional, extracted from my devotional, Following Our Father, to help you realign your identity as a dad, to be the dad that God has called you to be and that your children need you to be. Simply click the link in the description below and get your free 7-day devotional. Scott, it's so good to have you on the podcast. Thank you for being with me.
Thank you for having me here.
I am very much looking forward to this conversation because the topic of video games in homes is something that comes up a lot. I know, for me, I probably spent way too much time on video games growing up. I actually had this point in my life. I don't know how I got here, but at the age of 16, I realized if all I do is keep playing video games, I'm never going to do anything with my life. So I, at that point, throwback, had a PlayStation 2 and no memory card, so that's probably part of the problem. I just played and played and played to see how far I could get every single day. I just gave it away. I gave every bit of it away, and I said, if I'm going to do something with my life, I can't have games. So I'm not anti-video games. We still have them in our house for the kids. But I do realize that there have to be some boundaries. So
Absolutely,
I'm gonna view you as a specialist on this topic. And for everyone else, I want them to help have that perspective too. So let's start first with you tell us a little bit about you, your work, your family, and we'll start from there.
Yeah, sure. I'll share what I like to call my 1-minute resume.
Okay.
I do have 2 engineering degrees. I'm named on 11 patents. And my video gameography, I've been in the video game industry since 1999, is 15 published titles for PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo that have sold in excess of 30 million units and over 3 billion in revenue. So I've been on the inside, but been there where we were trying to make what we consider to be great entertainment. And since about 2006, I started a little company called GameTruck. And it launched the entire category of mobile video game parties. So we we don't drag anything. We drive a trailer to your house. It's like a living room on wheels full of Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo. And it's a party at your home, not in your house. Your kids can go inside and play the best games with their best friends. Our purpose is to create feelings of belonging through play. I wanted to recreate the social environment of playing the best games with my best friends, what I experienced as a kid. And we just felt we had lost that social environment where we're playing together and really enjoying it. And that's the heart of our company, is how do we create those connections and strengthen friendships through play. But because of what I do, a lot of parents come to me and talk about their struggles with video games. So I'm on your show because I'm trying to get information to parents, because there's been a change. There's been a really profound shift, and it really started with smartphones.
Mm.
And it isn't healthy. And I just want parents to understand what they're up against and help give them useful tools so that they can put gaming where, in my opinion, where it belongs. Just a fun activity, something your kid enjoys, but not something that becomes their entire life.
Sure. Um, so that becoming your entire life, I remember growing up in school, and I feel like this is when gaming started to really kind of take off, at least on the online platform. And this is where people were able to really kind of elevate what they were doing and get, with you had kind of the rise with YouTube at the same time, and then streaming was kind of a not too distant idea. And I had a cousin who ended up getting into the gaming industry, and he's like, all these teachers who told me that this was just going to be a waste of my time, he was like, I'm here to stick it to them. And I think there's a small percentage of people who maybe end up that way. I do think that, for parents who might have kids who say, hey, I can do this for a living. Probably not, but don't discourage the dream. You did say some things though that immediately bring some questions for me. Let me start first. You said you were an insider, so let's go here. Is there something that you think parents really need to know about video games in the gaming industry that is not
Okay, so
publicized?
let's break it up into a couple pieces.
Okay.
You talked about being a professional gamer, and there absolutely is a professional gaming market. There are colleges that do scholarships for video games. What my major concern is, and those are really different spaces. Okay. So if we broke games up from young kids, tweens to teens, and what's happening afterwards, what changed? We used to develop to an algorithm that was based on self-determination theory. And there's three keys to that. And self-determination is internally motivated. How do I create something you want to do? I'm not making you do it. You voluntarily choose to do it. You went and bought the game. This is your choice. And that is based around a concept of agency, mastery, and relatedness. And it turns out we can spoof one of those. We only need to deliver 2 out of 3, and you can have an engaging title. And that's what we thought we were building. Things that were fun and entertaining to play. We're competing for your entertainment dollars. But like a lot of things, we started learning more about human psychology and human weakness. I just think it started with Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, where we started to see, hey, we can use software to influence people's behavior. And where it really exploded, and this is just, it's bonkers that we did this. We started valuing companies not on the experience they create for their users, but how much attention they can steal. And, as the saying said, if it's free, you're not the customer, you're the product. And lately, you're the fuel.
Wow.
And that business model is insane, that we value companies that way. And when you start getting into digging under the cover, what are they actually trying to do? Well, not entertain you, because you're not paying for this. They are trying to grab your attention and hold it as long as possible. So the algorithm they developed to is called the hook algorithm. And it gets into the psychology of how we actually learn. And we don't learn the way we think we do. And when it gets down to behaviors, things you physically do, actions you're going to take, mammals have baked in this idea of a trial and error phase. And so let's say you were going to pick up a tennis racket and start intuitively, you'll just start swinging it. You see it with little kids. You've got kids. You'll see it all the time. You're trying to get a feel for what this thing is and how it responds to you. And so your body is literally experimenting to learn the parameters. And this is the trial and error phase. And in that mode, your brain releases a tiny amount of dopamine. Dopamine doesn't produce satisfaction. Dopamine produces craving. And what these guys figured out is normally in a normal learning cycle, you'll do a couple trial and errors and you go, I've got it. I know what this does. I have a feel for it. And you're on your way to skill development. When you develop skills, you develop mastery. That's where you're headed. They learned how to trap you in the trial and error phase.
Wow.
And they're pounding that little dopamine loop so that you are stuck with endless craving. So the loop looks like this. Step one, there's a cue. This is why every smart device on the planet, the first thing they do when you install app is, can I turn on notifications? Why? Because we want to cue you. Once you're cued, you engage in the behavior, do the thing they want you to do. Then comes, and this is the key to it, it's called a variable ratio reward schedule. You never get to master it. You really never know what's going to happen. This is the engine behind all of social media. What's the most variable reward? Human preference. You talk to anybody who's experienced in social media, you go, can you predict how well a post will do? And they said, nope, never. It's this endless experimentation. So they've now taken that and moved that into the video game space where you really never know, can you master it or not?
Wow.
Then they added something unique to humans. And the thing that's unique with humans is they let us customize it. Well, social media has that baked in, right? It's your pictures, it's your photographs, it's your art, it's your blog post. It's all you. Well, now in video games, since we can't really have you build you, we kind of do. We have skins, we have customizations, you can make your own characters. But when the more invested you get in it, if we get that right, if the developers get that right, then you start self-queuing. Like an addict reaching for a cigarette, you don't need the notifications anymore. Suddenly the phone is in your hand. The tablet is in your hand. But there is a key to this, always on internet connection. A huge break in the industry happened when we gave kids smart devices that were connected to the internet 24/7. Like we had online games when there were laptops and you just didn't see the same behaviors. Yeah. And so this loop is like, if I can go back and spark what happened, I've done a lot of research into video games and addiction. I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. But as a responsible developer, we wanted to entertain people, not create a problem for them. And all the data about like John Hari's Everything You Know About Addiction is Wrong, Jack Panskep, and all the research he did with rats. And if you do the research into Rat Park, it boils down to when we experience emotional pain, humans have 3 maladaptive approaches to deal with it. And the most painful moment, a guy named Dr. Mark Goulston said it's despair. At the moment of despair. And he goes, look at that word, despair. You've literally uncoupled all of your social support. You're isolated. He goes, that hurts. How do we deal with it? And you see it at work. People quit. Okay. They might become, they might push back. They might become, counterproductive. They might become toxic. They might become difficult to deal with. They resist. So you quit, you resist. What's the third one? Learned helplessness. You numb out. All 3 of those have extreme behaviors. Quitting becomes suicide. Resistance becomes violence. None of these are good. And we're seeing a rise of all these things, right? All of these are trending up. And the last one is numbing out becomes addiction. Okay. So you have this function that we're seeing happen in a sociological level at a big scale. Except, why is this happening to 10 and 11-year-old kids? They don't have any of these factors. They're in families. They're supported with their parents. They're in schools. Many of them are on teams. Like, what on earth is going on? They don't have any of the environmental conditions to have that despair factor. Why are they demonstrating addictive behaviors? And Professor Jonathan Haidt, who wrote The Anxious Generation, basically has pulled out it's because if parents are giving their kids smart devices. Over half of children now have a smart device. And the developers have decided the best way to make money is steal the kids' attention and sell it to Wall Street through investment and advertisers. It's bonkers.
Wow.
You have a game called Roblox. They tried to sell it and couldn't. Their user base started to collapse as soon as they wanted to charge for it. So they flipped it. And now it's a free platform. And there were, the last assessment I saw was $26 billion.
Wow.
Right?
That's insane.
Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And you see the same thing with Meta and their new announcement about, oh, we're going to have teen accounts. It's eyewash. They do absolutely nothing to protect. They do nothing for age verification.
Yeah.
And this is why I get fired up, because We do not have in the virtual world the same protections that we expect to have in the real world. A 9-year-old can't walk into a bar and order a drink. They can't walk into a strip club. Nobody can walk up to them and go, "Are you 18? Here's a porn magazine. It's free speech. You can't do anything to stop me." I mean, it's just bonkers, right? None of that happens. We have infrastructure, and the government helps police protect. You serve an underage minor, you lose your liquor license, you're out of business. We don't have that online because they don't want it.
Wow. So, I hear all of this, and I will just go ahead and throw this in real fast. You're the second person to mention the anxious generation in a few weeks of me doing this podcast. My wife has been going through the book, and we've been talking about it. And she's about ready to move into the forest at this point.
It's rough.
It is crazy when you see everything that is tied to smartphones and even social media, even online gaming, which I do want to ask you about here in a moment.
Sure.
But what baffles me is hearing you expound on all of this. This is not new information to the developers. They know these things and they see the result. Why is it that they then continue to push the pedal to drive this further and further when they can see the disaster?
What consequence is there for them? You have Meta as a $1.3 trillion company now by valuation. What possible consequence is there for them for this? Or William Su, who gave, I think it was Storm 8 was his studio, basically in an article said, this is exactly what we're doing. He laid it out. What is the negative consequence to any of the developers? Nobody's holding them accountable. So if you don't take advantage of it, you're a chump. But I want to make sure there's a clear separation of when we talk about developers. So one of the number one guidelines I give parents, I say this over and over again. Number one, pay for your games. Quit giving your kids free games. Be the customer of the developer. Be the person they are actually trying to entertain and satisfy. And two, coupled with that, pick games that do not require an always-on internet connection. That's going to wipe out about 90% to 99% of cell phone and tablet games, right? Just get rid of those altogether, right? Like the problems with those are not worth it. You want your kid to have a phone? Get them a flip phone. I know that sounds stupid, but we have different. I have a friend, her son had a burner phone so that he could be on Discord with his buddies.
Wow.
I mean, it's crazy the extent people are going to stay connected. Break the connection. And to me, it's like cell phones, PCs, they have the similar mindset of there's one screen, one chair, never share. It's all about you. It's always focused on you. But if you move towards a video game console, where's that? It's connected to a TV.
Yeah.
Probably in front of a couch. You probably have more than one controller. And some of them are amazing at come here and play with me in person.
Yeah. And
it's easy to go through a list of games. And I've talked to parents about that where they've taken the Chromebook away and they've given their son a Nintendo Switch. And the kid goes, God, this is so much better. I can put it down when I want to.
Yeah.
It's a completely different experience. They're designing it to do different things. Because if you can run the game without being online, they really can't track your user data. There's no way for them to monetize you except to satisfy you, to give you an engaging experience that's entertaining. And so if you break the online connection, you're in a completely different category of games. And if you pay for them, they basically, to be in business, they have to entertain you. That is a totally different approach.
Yeah. No, I love that you said that because, I would have never thought of it in those terms that if the game is free, you're the product. And I think that is eye-opening. To realize, because I've always thought, why do people just make these games for free and then people play them all the time? Like, what's the point? What are they getting out of this? And I'm really glad that you made that comment. Hey, if you're a new dad or choosing to embark on a fresh start as a father, I have a gift for you. I wrote a book a while back called Cut the Crap: Direct Tips for Becoming a Dad. I don't teach you how to change a diaper. That one's totally on you. But I do talk about 5 elements that you need to focus on as a dad if you want to be the dad your children need you to be. And this is completely free. It is yours. There's no strings attached. The only thing that I'd like you to consider is if the book brings value to you as a father, make a contribution by going to fatheringourfuture.com/support. But you don't have to. Again, it is a free gift from me to you. The link is in the description after the end of the episode. Click it, get your copy, and I pray that it helps you. Everyone has an opinion on fatherhood, but there's only one place that we should actually look, and that's to God, our Father. That's why I wrote Following Our Father, a devotional for dads. In this, I cover 30 qualities and attributes of our Father in heaven that help us better understand our identity as dads. Each devotional is followed up with a daily step so that we can take the principles of our Father and immediately apply them to our own lives. This is a tool and a resource in your hands that will bless you. Click the link in the description and get yourself a copy of Following Our Father today. When it comes to smartphones, early on, you talked about how this is what made things unhealthy. Now, is this tied to the constant internet connection and the free games, apps, and things of that nature?
100%.
Is there anything additional there that makes it unhealthy?
Okay, so yeah, there's a couple things that are happening for kids that are why we're seeing so many kids anxious. So this has to do with how children develop. And it's not that people shouldn't have smartphones, but most parents are unaware of this. Humans are unique for a bunch of reasons, but let me give you two super important ones. We are the only animal that goes from birth to about 5 years old. Our brain quadruples in size. That's a 4-fold increase in the size of the brain. Whales and elephants may be born with a bigger brain, but they don't get much bigger. Number 2 on that hit parade of brain growth are chimpanzees. It only doubles. So during those early years, there's an insane amount of neurons forming and connections forming. In fact, 5-year-olds will have more neural connections in their heads than you or me.
Wow.
They're literally bundles of potentials. And their brain will be about 90% of the capacity of an adult. So they're sitting there waiting to wire up. And if you think of a classroom full of kindergartners and they're moving, their energy, but they're not skilled yet, like that is human potential. Hopefully an ideal room is like a bunch of Labrador puppies. They're just roaming and ready to learn. But then we do something else that's unique. Every other mammal goes from birth to reproduction as fast as possible. Our neighbor's dog, Roxy, was 3 years old when they had our Labrador puppy. 3. Cats can reproduce safely at 1. Humans wait for 7 years. 7. So the brain hits 90% capacity and pauses. What's happening in the pause? What is going on there? And this is also super important. You've heard that the brain doesn't fully develop. The executive function that protects you from distraction doesn't begin to develop till about 12 or 13 years old, and it doesn't finish till about 24.
Yeah.
So children are having a radically different experience with technology than adults are. It's not the same. The brain grows from the inside out. This technology has unfettered and unrestricted access to your kid's inner brain circuitry. Giving children this tech isn't good. So what you're doing is here's what they're doing. Here's what they theorize. There's a Japanese anthropologist studied families that had moved abroad because of business reasons. When the economy globalized, a lot of executives started moving around. And what they noticed was that some of the kids grew up feeling like their identity was connected to the country they lived in, but in a very, very specific window of time. So, Anthony, if I took you and you were like 8 years old and I dropped you in Japan and I left you there till you were 14, we lived there, you would grow up, you would feel Japanese. You would not only speak fluently, you'd understand the food, you'd get the jokes, you would know the idioms, you would understand the architecture. Like it would just feel like it was part of your identity.
Yeah.
And this is what is happening in that 7-year window. We don't just learn the language, we absorb the community we're a part of. Humans aren't just social, we're hypersocial. We won the public goods game. We learned that we are way stronger as a tribe than as a bunch of individuals. And so our evolutionary process put us in a position where we want to absorb that community and culture that we're a part of. This is what the screens and the phones are disrupting.
Wow.
During this period where there should be absolutely age verification, hard boundary, do not let kids have access to these things. None of these companies want to do it. They don't make any attempt. They just let anybody in. And now what you have is kids spending insane amounts of time, not just watching TV, but stuck in these loops where they're interacting. And boys get frustrated by video games because they're looking for experiences of agency. Girls are looking for experiences of community or communion, relatedness. And so social media frustrates them with fake community. So boys get fed fake agency, the junk food of mental development, and girls get fed fake community, the junk food of human connection. And while their brains are trying to absorb what are the lessons and the rules, and what Jonathan Haidt observed, and talk to any family therapist, any clinician, and you're just seeing this explosion in teen anxiety. They're moving our kids out of discovery mode, that fun Labrador play, learn, life is good mode, into defend mode. We're turning them into deer and mice. They're terrified of everything and everybody because they're surrounded by risks constantly. And that isn't healthy for them. And I'm not sure that it's healthy for us as a society or as a species.
Right. I don't necessarily want to, go down the rabbit trail, which I feel like it would be easy to do, but on the
so
conspiracy theory trail, but with all the age verification, I'm familiar with, you're not supposed to have an account until whatever they set the age, 13 or 16, but you don't have to be 13 or 16 to get an account. I've had people very close to me who were young and who have been on social media since they were 7 or 8 years old.
Right.
Not my kids, not going to happen, but other kids. And I'm just curious, are they in any way, are they the target? Is there a bigger idea that if we get them now,
100%,
we'll hook
they
them
have
forever?
to be, because they don't have jobs, right? You look at their usage statistics, they're off the charts. So if you're trying to sell usage data as the basis, I mean, it's all about, we've talked about it forever. It's all about audience and eyeballs and how big is your following. And it's all about accumulated numbers. And guess who is absolutely the most vulnerable to having their attention stolen?
Wow.
People that don't have the neural structure to protect themselves from distraction.
Wow.
They don't separate these out. And here's the other problem, right? They're going to build a fence around the school that is a block up the street from me that's been there for 70 years without a fence. Open park. It's in the middle of a community. That's not safe enough. I got bad news for the educators. The creep is not outside the fence. They're in the kids' pockets.
Yeah.
They go into school with them every day. These platforms are the number one preferred way for pedophiles and creeps to basically train or curate or whatever the buzzword is now, but they can get in there because nobody knows who they're playing with.
Yeah.
So where I'd like to transition, if it's okay, from
for sure,
this scary world, because here's the problem. You're like, well, I can't give them nothing. The social pressure is insane. And what do? So when I look at screen time, I look at what are the experiences that kids really need to have, and they're in person. So we're face to face, synchronous. We're doing this at the same time, and high commitment. That's hard to leave, hard to join. So think of the difference between my son's online playing with God knows who. 15 minutes might be too long. Or friends are over in front of the couch. I'll let them play for hours. Because what are they doing? They're physically in the same space. They can see each other. They can hear each other. And you can't just walk in my house and play. And the parents dropped them off, so they can't just get up and leave. So they have reasons to work out their difficulties, their frustrations, and begin to develop the social emotional skills we need to bond as a community. When you're online, what are you dealing with? It's anonymous. You don't really know who you're talking to. And the companies do nothing to help you figure that out. Zippo, right? 2, it's asynchronous. So people carefully craft and they present. So it's all hyper perfect and all, you don't make a mistake. But it's easy come, easy go. And I've just seen this so many times, even in games where you're playing and somebody gets frustrated, so they just quit the game. They bail on you. And you're like, you just ruined that for everybody. Right. But they don't care. I'm hearing from educators this rise of either virtual or synthetic autism. And what it boils down to is kids are spending so much time looking at glass. It breaks the connection of how their behavior affects other people. They're not used to looking at other people's faces. So they haven't developed the social emotional cues to read somebody else's expression.
Wow.
And one of the key indicators of autism is treating people like things. If you go back to Malcolm Gladwell's book, Blink, they did a study on that where they put eye trackers on adults that were high functioning but had autism. They never looked at people's faces. They looked everywhere but at the face. And it made it very hard for them to follow social situations. What were the jokes? What were people doing? Because they couldn't read the social cues. We're literally using these devices and training our kids away from reading social cues in person in real time towards presented, curated, digital content that's mediated. And I heard this crazy statistic that was first, he just said it. Hey, 40% of Gen Z getting hired out of college today, they're losing their jobs because they don't know how to hold a conversation. And I don't like to give statistics without knowing the source. So we looked it up. On an article on LinkedIn, they claimed it was 60%. This is not a joke.
Wow.
Right? Teachers have been talking about this for years of why are schools picking up teaching social emotional development? Because when the kids are home, they're on their devices all the time.
Wow.
And school is one of the few places they're forced to actually put the screens down. God bless New York. I think they just put a ban on phones in schools. Like, we need to get all that stuff out of there.
For sure.
Is, you're in person. You need to learn how to interact as a human.
Yeah.
So kids crave those situations, and the devices are frustrating them because they're giving them fake community, fake agency, and it's not healthy for the kids.
Sure.
But for the developers, wow, man, you want high usage statistics? Grab a kid's attention.
Wow. That's, I don't know. I know everyone is different, coming at this from a Christian perspective. I've got values and a faith that kind of guides the decisions that I make. I would almost, function with this expectation that other people, maybe not even who share my faith, would at least have some sort of moral compass that would say, this is probably not a good thing to do. So it's mind bending to think that this is what they're doing, why they're doing it. And it's just all for the elevation of their company or their numbers or their finances. That's scary.
I don't know for sure what their motivations are, but if you look at Will Sue's article, he was very transparent about it because that was absolutely their goal. And look, some of these things, started at some of the biggest universities, where they're talking about changing human behavior with software.
Yeah. No.
I suppose, I don't know what other people's motivations are. And I hear you that I tend to fall on the spectrum of, I tend to be optimistic. I believe there's like a lot of talk about power and oppression and everything else, but humans actually don't respond to power. There's one thing higher for us, and it's prestige. And prestige often comes from who can do the most public good. And we can recognize that in small communities when we look out for each other. It's at scale, we don't know what that means anymore.
Yeah.
And I think most parents have no idea what's going on. They think they're handing their child a toy. And who doesn't want their kid to be happy? Who doesn't want them to have a good toy?
Exactly.
I mean, video games decimated the toy industry. And understandably so. This is something that's more interesting to play with and more personal. It just tilted into a range that nobody's ever seen before. I don't think there's ever been an industry like we have now where companies can be valued on the attention they steal and not the value they deliver users. Yeah. I can't ever think of a period in time where that was the case, that people, you had to take care of people, and they don't anymore to be valued.
Right.
And that's just bonkers to me.
Well, I hope, again, echoing what you just said, while we don't know for sure motivation and goals and master plans, we might not know that, but I would encourage anyone listening, watching this, to just pay attention to the writing on the wall, because maybe there is some noble goal behind it all, and it's just going sideways right now. I don't know, but if it is the way that it is,
So if you don't mind, I don't want to leave your audience leaving like, oh God, the world's,
Yeah, no, I
look,
definitely,
things are bad, right?
yeah.
But there's things you can do that are better.
Let's talk about that.
So like I said, step one, right, is get good games, right? Zero in on good games. There are games that, like I said, there are great games on all the platforms. Whether it's, I'm a huge fan of Nintendo personally, but also for my kids. Like, if you buy Pokemon, you can put Pokemon down, right? That's a good game. Zelda's a great game. But there's also a lot of the sports games. You can play Madden offline, right? You can play NBA 2K offline.
Yep.
You don't have to be plugged in. You might not get all the updates, but you can play the game.
Right.
There's some amazing single player games. Horizon Zero Dawn. You go on and on where it's like you're having an experience that the developers are trying to entertain and engage you.
Yeah.
And I think those games are amazing. But one of the next things is, if you go through the checklist, did you buy it? Do you have to be online to play it? If you fail those two, you want to be super careful the younger your kid is. When they're older, a little more mature, then it's probably okay for them to play. But, throwing them super young in there, you're going to see some behavioral issues because the kids are vulnerable to the design algorithms. And they are feeling addicted. They're acting like you're not just taking away a toy, you're taking away the thing that is stimulating that craving loop in their brain.
Yeah.
So when you get into a healthy game format, then the next part, I like Minecraft. There's a great game. Huge fan of Minecraft. Talk to your kid about how the game ends, because that's the next thing parents run into. Like, I can't get them to stop playing. Well, one of our rules is we negotiate the end before they begin. How does this game end? And the beauty is, if your child already plays games, they know. And they usually will tell you. In my experience, I've never had a parent tell me my kid wouldn't tell me how a game ended. I've had some clever games played where they're like, oh, I'll play this last match. And then they jumped into a mode in the game that never ends. And the parents are like, what are you doing? I'm like, negotiating. But generally what we do is you both agree, how is this going to end? In my experience, gamers will game. And kids usually have more than one gaming device. And so they could be like, oh, I can't play this. Like, are you sure you want to jump in that online multiplayer game with your buddies that doesn't ever end? We're leaving at 5. Like, that's non-negotiable. Right. Then they'll be like, okay, I'll play Pokemon instead. Or they'll pick something they can pause, save, or walk away from. The other one is, I talked about it a little bit. It's the conversations. Is asking, and this is another clue that I try to give parents, is talk to your kid about the game experience. What is it like for them? And a healthy game will sound like a job. They're facing a hard problem. They have to develop skills to overcome that problem, and they need to persist until they overcome it. And so they're leveling up. You've heard that expression. It's in pop culture. You've got to raise your level. And there's skill development in that. And when you talk to players, particularly like Minecraft's a great one, where they'll talk about, I'm trying to build this. They're learning about redstone, which is like electrical engineering, which is bonkers if that's in a game. But they're building things and they're creating things. They have a vision of where they're trying to go and what they're trying to do. When they're playing one of these lottery casino attention stealers, they complain. They're frustrated. This is broken and people are ruining this experience. And you just get these things that unbalance the game because it's not about winning. They can never master it. They can never achieve mastery because the developer doesn't want them to. To keep them in the hook loop, they have to always be on the ragged edge of never knowing exactly what their behavior will produce. So that's a clue. If your kids just start getting into this is unfair and it's not right, and they're complaining, and they're really upset about it, that's a time to think about picking another game.
Gotcha.
And switching to something else. And there's great choices out there. And just like they do with like caffeine, actually was, we don't get tired when we drink caffeine because caffeine actually occupies the space where the little sleep chemical would go. I think Arthur Brooks in his book, Building the Life He Wants, said the same thing about being bummed out, is if you can get happier thoughts to take the place, you need thought replacement. So getting rid of games is extremely difficult, but substituting games, putting in better games, makes it an easier transition away from the games that are really problematic. And, that ends up being, an approach. And here's the thing. If you can see the game, like I tell parents, never tell your kids games are a waste of time. I hear that all the time. That's not what your child hears. They hear facing hard problems, developing skills, and persisting is a waste of time, because that's what a good game is to them. So if you tell them it's a waste of time, why would they do that anywhere else in their life? And they often don't. But you can use that to build a growth mindset for them. That's like, you are the kind of person that faces problems and persists until you learn how to master it.
Yeah.
You can use their experience in the game to build a map for them about, real life isn't architected as well as a game is, but you have the same structure. Can you master this? Can you get good at it? Can you figure out how to do it? And does it serve somebody you care about? Those three things are huge. Is it interesting? Do you have aptitude? Does it benefit somebody you care about?
Yeah.
Use that ladder. You see something like that in the game. But like you talked about your story of walking away from the PlayStation, if I just play this, I'll go nowhere. That's what's missing in games. It doesn't benefit anybody. But if you take those same behaviors and apply them in the real world, almost always that turns into you're doing something that has a positive impact for other people. And that's usually what leads to purpose and a satisfying career.
Yeah.
So you can use the game as a ladder for the attitudes to help kids find their purpose in the real world.
Scott, do you have a resource that people can take advantage of? Maybe a website that they can visit where they can get more of what we've talked about?
I am fiercely working my way on it right now. My website is scottnovis.com.
Okay.
And we are in the process of finalizing some posts that contain all of this information, more useful tools. And so that is high on my list, including other resources, because I'm networking with other people we got to work together, right? We got to bond together as a community to demand that we keep our kids safe online.
For sure.
And so as I can find people, Velcro us all together going, okay, you have this piece and I have this piece. Like social media, that's not my jam, right? I know we have similar problems and similar opportunities. I try to advocate about healthier video gaming. And I'll give you one last pro tip.
Okay.
We do this thousands of times every month to end game time at GameTruck without a fight. Don't yell at your kid. Don't grab them. Don't startle them if they're in the middle of a game. Flick the lights in the room they're in. Humans' peripheral vision is very sensitive to changes in light. And so if you do that a few times, your child is going to look up. They're going to be like, what is going on? At that moment, make eye contact. And then you could gently touch them on the shoulder and go, you have 5 minutes to wrap this up.
Wow.
You're reinforcing their sense of agency, their sense of control, and your confidence that you and they made an agreement and you expect them to honor it. And in our experience, that just ends parties. It works. I hear from a lot of parents it was game-changing for them. So it's a pro tip from us professional gamers to you parents dealing with gamers at home. Let me know how it works.
That's awesome.
But feedback we get is that one works pretty well.
That's awesome. No, I would have never thought of that. So I appreciate the pro tip. I do want to ask you one last thing. I like to do this with everyone that I interview on the podcast. It can be unrelated to gaming, but you're a father, 3 kids of your own. What is your best piece of advice that you would give to dads?
Man.
I know it's a loaded question.
Okay. So for me, the thing that I try to tell parents, and I just feel like you don't get enough encouragement. And so part of this is you are a good parent. You're listening to this podcast. Why? Because you're trying to be a better parent. The desire to be better matters.
Yeah.
You are a good parent because your kids love you. Even if their behavior doesn't always show it, they do. They need you. They love you. And don't, hold on to that. You're a good parent because you love your kids. So please don't lose sight of the fact you are a good parent.
Yeah. That's powerful. Thank you for that encouragement, that affirmation, that piece of advice. You've been a wealth of knowledge, and I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. And I know that this is going to be a tremendous blessing to everyone who has listened. Scott, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being with me.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate it. It is anything we can do to empower parents to be able to, raise the kids they hope to raise, right?
Right.
Great, mature human beings.
Well, if you feel anything like I feel right now, you might be a bit fired up. You might be a bit concerned. You might even feel a bit confused. I'm very appreciative that I got to have this conversation with Scott and that I got to learn what I learned from him. I appreciate his efforts, his dedication to this topic, and I truly hope that he is able to reach the masses with this message. There are a number of things that I could say to you right now on how I feel and speculate as to how you might feel and what you might want to go and do, the changes that you might want to make. I'm not going to advise on any of that. What I'm going to do is invite you to pray with me. Jesus, we thank you for your goodness. We thank you for your mercy, and we thank you for your love. We thank you that we have other people, members of this vast body that we are a part of, who contribute in different ways. We're not all the hands. We're not all the feet. Each of us play a unique role. And I want to thank you for Scott. I want to thank you for his contribution. I want to thank you for his expertise. I pray that all of us who have heard this today, that we would, with wisdom and in prayer, reflect on how we move forward as fathers. That we would invite you into this conversation to give us the guidance that we need, to give us the values that we need to anchor ourselves to as we move forward with this great opportunity and privilege that you have given to us to be dads. God, give us wisdom as we move forward. Help us to move forward in truth, and help us to move forward in love, and help us to always move forward hand in hand with you. We love you and we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, I want you to know that this thing called fatherhood, it is challenging. You're not crazy for thinking that, but I also want you to know that you're never alone on this journey. I'm here with you, and there are other people who are available to help you as well. There's a community of dads, and we're doing this thing together. But if you need help and you want help from me, I'm available to you. fatheringourfuture@gmail.com is how you can get a hold of me, and I'll do my best to serve you however I can. But I want you to know that you're valuable, and what you're doing, it matters. And all the efforts and all the decisions and everything that you do that goes into this thing called fatherhood, to raising beautiful children into incredible adults, to making disciples, it's valuable. And don't ever forget that. If you need me again, fatheringourfuture@gmail.com is how you can get a hold of me. But I want to thank you for being with me. This is Father in Our Future. I'm Anthony Vandegrift, and I hope you'll join me next time. Hey, one more time, I want to thank you for listening to Fathering Our Future. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, please do so wherever you listen, and consider leaving a nice review, because I would appreciate that. But if you're not connected to Fathering Our Future on social media, you can find it on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and there you're going to get some additional content on a more regular basis that you don't always get here on the podcast. Now, the last thing that I would like to ask of you is that you would consider becoming a financial partner of Fathering Our Future, because dads make a difference, and dads are not disposable. Dads are vital, and they are essential, and they are needed. And the impact that dads make doesn't just reside in the home, but it has a ripple effect that goes to churches and communities and culture. And I'm inviting you to be a part of equipping and empowering and educating dads to be the dad that God has called them to be and that their children need them to be. You can become a financial partner with Fathering Our Future. It can be a one-time contribution, a monthly commitment, but by doing that, you play a direct role in impacting dads. You can check the link in the description below. You can pray about it. You can get on board. And I thank you in advance for becoming a part of Fathering Our Future in a special and a dynamic way. God bless you.